some record on. So note that we are recording this. And we will go ahead and get started because I know everybody's time is precious and valuable. So I'd like to thank everyone for coming out to our Vice President Membership and Treasurer's webinar. I have our District Director, Phyllis Breach, on the call tonight. Welcome, Phyllis.
Thank you.
Someone is not happy that Phyllis is on the call.
I'm sorry.
And we have our Finance Manager, Matt Berenson, on with us tonight.
Hello, everybody.
Matt.
And I invited Kari Evans, our Public Relations Manager, to join us tonight as well.
Hello.
So she can answer any questions after we go through how to add members, maybe possibly reaching out to find these members. So I asked her to be on the call tonight. And I am Roxanne Rush, your Club Growth Director. So welcome.
Welcome.
Okay.
We have some guest presenters tonight. Steve Williams is joining us, Tony Price, and William Kendrick. They all agreed to talk about how they handle different payments, forms of payments. So they all have experience, and I'm excited to hear what they have to say about how we can start collecting club dues. So I put some of the payments options that I've heard from other members, such as Zelle, PayPal, Cash App, Venmo, Google Pay, Square, and then you can use a multitude of options combined. So these are some of the ones that we will talk about tonight, and then if you've heard of others, please feel free to join in the conversation once we get started. So I received some information about PayPal, and we'll start talking about it first. I do know that it does charge a fee, but you can utilize the nonprofit status, and so your fee will be slightly less. You do have to provide the club mission statement, an IRS 501c3 letter, which we can provide to each of you, and a bank statement for your club.
Hey, and Roxanne, I'd like to jump in on this if this is okay, if you go back to that slide. I actually did a little bit of due diligence. Besides being the finance manager, I'm the club treasurer as well. So I'm going through the challenges of figuring out how to get people to pay us because they can't hand it over to me at the meeting now. And one thing that we use PayPal, and one of the things that I discovered is that we would have people that would pay us and we would receive the full amount coming over through PayPal. And we would have others that would pay us and we would not get the full amount. We would get 98% or 97%, whatever it is. And so I did my due diligence. I reached out to those to find out what is it that you were doing versus you were doing that I would get a full payment versus not get a full payment. And what I found out is that if someone is using PayPal to have money withdrawn from their bank, so it's basically, for lack of a better word, electronic funds transfer or ACH payment coming through PayPal. The full amount is what comes over. So, however, if you're using a credit card, then they are, or a debit card, then they are taking out their fees for that. So that's something worth passing on. If some people want to have it just withdrawn straight from their bank account versus going on a credit card, that can happen. And from what I see, none of the fees are taken out. And I'm not sure if anyone else can add to that or not from their experience.
At our club, we actually use PayPal as well. And we have found that same issue to be true. So we don't really discriminate whether people use their, like an ACH payment or use a debit card. I think it's maybe like $2 per member that they take out if they do a credit or debit card. So if they choose to do that, our club will kind of eat the costs just as a convenience for our members. But we have found that soliciting the payment through PayPal is a lot more convenient and a lot more user-friendly than them having to do something physically at the club. And, you know, like when people see it in their email, they're a lot more likely to just do it right there on their phone as opposed to like wait and have to mail a check in or something like that.
And what I'll add to that as well is that we've had people at their meeting, and it's typically people that are a generation younger than me. But I'm definitely seeing that people are seeing they're at the meeting, and when the meeting is over, they maybe have joined.
Did he freeze?
I think so.
Yeah, I think he froze.
Matt, you froze. So Tony, while he's unfreezing, can you kind of walk us through how do you get set up on PayPal?
So on PayPal, kind of like what you have listed here, there is a way to set the PayPal up as a nonprofit status. And when you do that, you know, it'll allow you to do certain things and avoid certain charges that you would otherwise have if you set it up as a personal or a business account. And the way that it works is once you establish the account, so like for our club, we have it set up under Peachtree Toastmasters. It will give you a link. And like for ours, it's paypal.me/Peachtree Toastmaster. And you can have that link set up. And what we do is we have like an email kind of template that I email out, you know, twice a year on dues renewal. And I will just include that link in the email and provide instructions on how they can pay. And they're able to, you know, like what Matt was saying, they can pay with their debit card, credit card, or with their ACH account. So that's a really huge benefit. And on the back end of it, so when I'm logged into PayPal, I'm able to see how much each person paid, who paid, and then I'm able to transfer that money to our designated bank account for our club. And in that particular process, if you do, I think, a standard delivery, which is 1 to 3 business days, there is no fee for that. If you do the expedited, which I think is like instantaneously, they do charge a fee for that, but we avoid that. So it's seamless. And, you know, like I was telling everybody before we got started, because I'm not able to make the meetings as regularly as I would like, this particular process allows me to do this kind of remote. So I don't necessarily have to be at every meeting. The president, you know, will obviously speak on my behalf, let them know any updates regarding fees or, you know, funds or anything like that. But I can process all of the payments remotely and not have to do that in person.
And then is it an easy transition between years? Like, so when the next person gets voted in as treasurer, is it easy to transition from you as treasurer to the next person?
Exactly, it is. And the way that that will work is I will give them so we have a Gmail account associated with our club, and we have that Gmail account associated with the PayPal account. The password for the PayPal account, though, is what's specific to each treasurer. So once the new treasurer is elected, I will give them the password that I'm currently using, and they will change it. That way they now have the exclusive rights to it, and I will no longer have access to it as the previous treasurer.
Awesome. Does anybody else have, oh, go ahead, Mary.
Is there a fee that's being charged to the person that's paying this as well as a small fee on our side too?
So like what Matt was saying earlier, if a member does an ACH payment, then there is no fee. But if they pay with a debit card or a credit card, then there is a fee. With that, though, the member will have an option to either pay the fee or have, you know, like the paying entity pay the fee. So with our club will just eat that cost. And for each transaction, it's maybe like less than $2. It's maybe like $1.47 or something like that. So we'll eat that cost per member. That way the member does not have to incur any additional cost.
Okay, all right, thank you.
This question, Steve Williams.
Hi, Steve.
Oh, hi, Tony. Yeah, Steve Williams, past district governor. I just joined into the webinar, and yeah, as far as the fees are concerned, basically I have PayPal for my club. I'm the treasurer of my club, Toastmasters of Forsyth County, and yeah, we just basically as long as we have enough to pay Toastmasters International, then that's basically what the bottom line is for us.
Mm-hmm.
This is Robert Walker. I am with Cox Communication Toastmaster team. I'm the treasurer. What I found, we utilize Square, and what I normally do is I take a credit card payment or cash or a check because we utilize Square. Once we use Square, they pay me, and then I will log on to the site and transfer the money from Square, but it automatically transfers because the bank account is set up with that, and we utilize Wells Fargo as our bank account. Now, as far as like any additional fees towards the member, we have a base set at $5 additional. So if it's $45 for renewal, they have to pay an additional $5, which is going to make it a even $50. And that takes care of any fees, and that's the Cox Toastmaster charge, because a lot of our, and I apologize for using filler words, a lot of our meetings and a lot of our fees are reimbursed by the company. So they don't mind paying that $5 up front.
So Square automatically transfers the money to your bank account.
That's correct. I have the Square that I can plug into my phone, or I can just pull up a quick terminal, and it's pretty much just a Square app on my desktop, and I can take the credit card right then as a quick payment. Once I take that credit card payment, then it transfers later that night when the system cycles. It transfers over into Wells Fargo, and I utilize the Wells Fargo card, and I just log on to Toastmaster International, and I pay for all the dues or our new members. I get them set up that way.
And this is Steve, if you don't mind my interjecting. There's a
Sure.
different fee. There are different levels of fees on Square. For if you swipe the card, it's actually a cheaper fee, but if you key the card in manually, it's a little bit more. So if you
that I was most clear, and I hate to interrupt you, so that I was most clear, I did log on to Square to see if we are being charged the fee, and we are not. If it states right here 1 to 2 business days, your funds will be transferred within 1 to 2 business days at no extra charge. And that's inputting the card in as well as swiping it. I don't know who originally set it up or how they set it up, but we do not incur any additional fees at all. Wells Fargo is who we incur fees with because Cox is set up as a business account.
Oh, okay.
So that's the only place where we incur fees at.
Okay, that's different. Of course, what I'm thinking about is that when you're doing the point of transaction, not the money that's going from your Square account to the bank. That's a different thing. So I'm sorry if I didn't make it clear. When you're getting a credit or debit card from somebody, that's where the fees incurred. But after that, then whatever you got goes into the bank.
Correct.
All right, thanks.
Their card is not charged no more than what if the fees are $45 and it's a $5 Cox fee. Only thing their card is charged is $50. It's not unless their bank is set up to where with an ACH transaction there is an additional fee. Other than that, the only thing Cox Toastmasters charges them is $50. So I want to make sure I'm understanding you correctly as well.
I know when we had the Square card at our business, we were charged a fee. We were charged like 3% of the transaction. And that comes right off the top of, say, the $50 that you were talking about. It would come out of that $50. Yes. But I recently saw something from Square that they were going to start charging the 3% plus a 30 cents charge. And that's what I remember seeing. So I know that that's something that they're saying is coming through the pipeline.
Our account may be set up as a nonprofit, but it was passed down. The information, I'm still utilizing the previous treasurer's login information as far as username and password in order to get into Square, because it was such a hard transfer whenever I took the seat. So I had to utilize what I had, and I've been trying to get him to at least change the password or update my email information, and it's very much so hard as pulling teeth. Okay. So I utilize what I have, and I'm looking at it, and the only fee that we're currently being charged, if we're going to be charged the fee, is if I transfer the money on the same day. It's a 1.5% fee. Other than that, there is no fee for us. But like I said, I don't know if the account was originally set up as a nonprofit to where Square isn't charging us those additional fees. And that's inputting the card in, because a lot of times they will give me their info over the phone, as well as if I come into the meeting and I slide their card, there is still no additional fee. Those funds transfer from their account, or that ACH transaction goes through into Square, and then I log on to Wells Fargo and I just pay it from there.
Okay.
So one thing I want to add is, and I'm sorry I dropped off, I'm back on now. Hopefully I won't freeze this time. But one thing I want to add as well is, and if this is already covered, forgive me for bringing it up again, but our club, let's take a step back. For each, the cost per month is $7.50 per member that goes straight to Toastmasters for a total of $7.50 times 5. If I'm doing my math right, I think that's $42.50 or something like that. A certain amount that goes to Toastmasters. We collect $10 per month, so $7.50 for the Toastmasters, $2.50 per club for the 6 month for the club for the 6 month membership. I bring that up to specify that if you are going to be using, and I definitely encourage you to use some form of electronic payment, make sure that you are factoring in those fees, because you need to at least be collecting the full amount that's going to go to Toastmasters. Otherwise, you're going to be in the red. So certainly make sure that you're collecting those fees to cover that. So just want to make sure that that was mentioned.
Steve, do you guys have your account listed as a business account or a nonprofit account, or does it matter from a fee perspective?
For PayPal and Square, we don't have it listed as anything extraordinary. We just have a standard PayPal and Square account, and all I can say is that it works. It's worked very well for both our clubs. We mostly use PayPal primarily for renewals, where you can create a PayPal.me, for instance, with our club. PayPal.me/TM of Forsyth County. They can go in, pay the $55, which is our semi-annual dues. And, in other words, I just kind of believe in the KISS principle. Keep it simple. Keep it,
I like that.
The KISS principle. So, we just use the KISS principle. And I've used PayPal and I've used Square. I first started using Square for the Lions Club. I'm a member of the Lions Club up in Forsyth County, a service organization. And we started using Square to collect money for our fundraisers, like our Breakfast with the Easter Bunny, which sadly we're not able to hold this year because of COVID-19, but that's where I was first introduced to Square. My wife, Mary, past international director, has used Square for her little bead business that she sort of kind of runs on the side when she does craft shows. So all I can say for the most part is that I'm quite satisfied with PayPal and Square. Makes life a whole heck of a lot easier. And I just wish more individuals would take advantage of paying through PayPal and Square. And kudos to Toastmasters clubs for joining the 21st century in that respect. Again, I'm an old past district governor. I was district governor in 2004, 2005, and a lot of things have changed since I was DG, but I'll just say I appreciate what all of y'all as the district team are doing, and I'm just here to learn like everybody else. And on that point, that's all I have. Thank you, Roxanne.
One more question. Do you use the swipe piece of it, or do you guys just use the app?
For the Square, we do use the swipe. So we use the swipe as much as possible because, again, based on my experience, it's a lot cheap. It's a little bit cheaper when you're swiping it, and of course, again, all that stuff is transparent to the user, so to speak. So that's kind of an IT term. I'm a retired IT guy. But anyway, yeah, we use the swipe as much as we can. So that's how we do it. And kudos to Tony Price there for his insight. And thank you, brother, for all you're doing. And any other questions, Roxanne?
I'm not sure. I was going to open it up, ask anybody if they had any questions.
Well, actually, I'm going to ask a question and see how people respond to it, which is if there's anyone on the call that's currently not using, what are these types of methods, and what are your thoughts? Do you have any hesitation? Do you have any concerns that you want to surface or bring up? We're a support group for this.
One thing I would like to mention, if you do set up a PayPal account and possibly a Square account, make sure that the name of your club is visible. We've had several clubs that use their business account, and if a member doesn't recognize it when the payment hits, they might dispute it, and then you have to go through that process. So make sure when you do set it up that it's very visible exactly what this is for.
I would agree. Yeah, definitely. And also, like Tony and them do it, we have it set up to where it's not under somebody's personal email for a log on. So just thought I'd throw that in.
Yeah.
Yeah, let me add to that. I was just, Steve, I was actually thinking the same thing. Mine goes to tm.mattberenson@gmail.com, my Toastmasters email address. And also to be very clear that you may have a personal PayPal account, but you would need to set up a business PayPal account, or one specifically that the funds are going directly into the bank that your club does business with. You don't want to have something going to your personal PayPal account into your personal bank and then you're transferring the funds over.
Absolutely. From an ethics standpoint, that's just the way to do it.
Right. It's just cleaner for everyone. So just to make that very clear, if you're considering it, make sure it's going straight into the bank account for the club.
Hey, Matt, this is Rod. I joined a little bit late. Did you guys already talk about Venmo and Cash App?
Not quite yet. We're getting to that in just a second.
Awesome. Okay.
Any questions about PayPal or Square?
Perfect segue. Let's go to the next.
All right. So let's talk about some of these other options. And unfortunately, I do not have any experience with Zelle or Cash App or Venmo. So whomever has experience and would like to talk about these, please do so.
I've used Zelle to send money directly to people, and I've also received them. But that is usually, there's no charge if it's done between the banks. There's no fees involved, but usually that's money coming directly out of their account. So I don't know if people would feel safe doing that. Well, I mean, it's safe because they would be sending the money too. The only thing is usually there needs to be an account, a telephone number or an email address. And that's how they're able to find, the bank account.
So it's your personal bank account and then you transfer it to your club account? Is that what you're saying?
Yes,
Okay.
that's the way it would be done.
Which is not the preferred method.
No, this is just my personal use of Zelle. I haven't used it for the club yet.
Oh, okay. Got it. Okay.
I just know that's how it reacts.
I'm actually pretty familiar with using those. Google Pay works really well. What has helped with us is having additional funds into the account so that whenever someone transfers money, they don't have to transfer the extra fee. So what we'll do is we'll go ahead and pay the money from our bank account, pay the whatever it is, the new member fee or the renewal, and then we're able to just use the transfer option without having to incur any additional fees. And we don't have to pass that on to the member. And it works the same way with Venmo. Venmo is actually a little bit faster with transferring the money. If you do it, request a transfer by a certain time, it'll typically happen before midnight. So they're a little bit faster than Cash App.
Okay.
And Rod, do these go like with Venmo? So are you able to set up your club bank account, or does it have to go through a personal bank account and then to the club bank account?
So with Venmo, you can have it set to go to the club bank account. It really all depends on how your account is set up. Typically, if you use the nonprofit option, like what BB&T offers, your account is set to a business account. But if you go like with a Chase, you just have a regular account, and so you're able to use it without you're able to have it transfer versus having it go into your personal account and then transferring it to the club account.
And then again, I asked this earlier, but is it an easy transition when it's time to change officers for the Venmo and the Cash App? Is it easy to transfer it to the next treasurer's responsibilities?
It is, as long as, well, it depends because they're both attached to the phone number. So one thing you can do is whenever you transfer to a new officer, they can just create a new Cash App ID and then delete the old one. That way it's not being sent to someone else who's no longer the treasurer. So you can go that route, or a way around that is creating a Google Voice number that the club uses. But again, that has to go back to someone's phone number. So whoever decides to take on that can switch that out every time they have their officer elections.
I'm learning a lot. So many options and ways to do it. Any
Can I
questions?
chime in here?
What's
I
that?
don't have a question. I just wanted to state something. Now, I work in risk for Mannheim. I'm in the risk department. And what we found is there is more ways to commit fraud utilizing Cash App. So I understand as far as what you said is getting the new person's info and resetting up the account. But I was always advised from the previous two treasurers that we would not utilize Cash App because there was a way to stop the funds or something. I don't know, but we have ran into previous issues with utilizing Cash App. And with Zelle, this is food for thought. Zelle transfers money instantly when you have a phone number or if you utilize a phone number. If you utilize the email address, it can take 3 to 5 business days. And that's trial and error. That's how I found that out.
And I do actually have a question about Zelle. For, I guess, any treasurers that are using Zelle, how are you transferring the phone number between treasurers? That's something that our club looked at, but we found a lot of difficulty trying to transfer phone numbers from the previous treasurer to me. So if anybody has any insight on that, I would extremely appreciate that.
What I would say is, because I utilize Zelle a lot for my personal business, I transfer a lot of money to various individuals utilizing Zelle. What I have found is that if your Toastmaster group, if they have an account set up with Zelle, if the business account is set up with that particular bank, Zelle comes along with it. So as long as the phone number is set up to the business, they'll always be able to utilize that particular business, but no one should have the login information except for the current treasurer.
Right. So essentially you're saying if I change the phone number on, we'll say like Wells Fargo, for example, and make it my phone number instead of their phone number, then it should work correctly?
It should work correctly, but I'm not guaranteeing that based off
Okay.
of, I don't know how it goes with the transferring of the phone numbers, because I never had to remove a phone number and add an additional phone number. I would always just add an additional individual.
Gotcha. Okay. Okay. I'll toy around with that. Appreciate that, man. Thank you.
No problem.
The one question I have for whoever wants to answer is, are any of you using multiple electronic payment methods, or do you just stick with one?
Stick with one.
We use both PayPal and the Square, but mostly PayPal.
We use multiple: PayPal, Venmo, Cash App, Google Pay.
And Rod, real quick for you, I think you just answered. You don't have any problem as far as keeping up and reconciling between all of those?
No, not so far. People typically between.
Okay.
It just seems like it will be so much work trying to balance all of those.
Fortunately, people tend to stick between Venmo and Cash App the most. Very rarely do we have someone use PayPal, and it's even more rare for them to use Google Pay, but we still have the option.
Okay.
As the sitting treasurer, would it be easier, and I'm just asking, as the sitting treasurer, would it be easier just for you to limit the platforms that you utilize? Or do you try to get the money under any circumstances? At all costs.
I'll answer for my club. Right now, we have just limited it to PayPal. I know there are certainly others that said, hey, will you do this or will you do this? And right now, just to make my life a little bit less complicated, I'm just limiting it to PayPal. And that's why I was curious to hear, what some of the others were doing. Enough things to manage already. But that's just but it's only for, admittedly, just for my own convenience more than anything, selfishly.
Steve, were you the one that said you used PayPal and Square?
Yes, ma'am, that is correct.
And why do you choose to use both?
Well, I chose to use both because with Square, if we have somebody that joins the club or wants to renew, we can swipe their card Johnny on the spot. That's just what's been easier for me as treasurer. But as far as most things are concerned, PayPal we use mostly for renewals. So, and of course Mary was telling me, and we sent out a link. Mary was reminding me.
Thank you, Mary.
Yeah, thank you, Mary. Past International Director Mary Williams. Give her a hand. Yay. All right. Anything else, Roxanne?
Any other questions?
Oh.
Anybody?
I have a question, but I'm not sure it relates to this right now. And that is, this is Kathy Newmiller. What about people that want to join our club now, meeting virtually? What can we do to get them on our roster?
Can you ask that again, Kathy?
Sure. I'm talking about, like, for instance, we had a virtual meeting this week and we had 3 guests. They want to join our club. How do we go about getting them, on our roster and paid for, et cetera?
You should still be.
Go ahead.
Sorry.
No, go ahead.
I'm thinking that you should still be able to input their information in if they're coming in as new members.
But this is virtual. We're not seeing them. We don't know them. They're virtual.
This is Steve. May I interject?
Yes, please.
Sure.
The best thing that I would know to do would be to email them an application, ask them to fill it out, scan and email the completed application back to you. And of course, make sure before you send them the application that you've explained the dues, the fees and whatnot. And then at that point, if you at that point, as far as collecting dues are concerned, if you have PayPal, you could send them a PayPal link and ask them to put in what you owe. That would be the easiest thing that I could think of to process applications in that particular situation.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
You can also send invoices through PayPal or Square, by the way. It's not that hard.
We don't have Square. I don't even know what we have for this club I'm talking about.
You can send an invoice through PayPal too. And if you have the Free Toast Host website,
Yes.
there's actually a way that you can send an invoice with a PayPal buy now option.
Okay, I'll look into that. Thank
That
you.
was a good tip, Heather.
I have 2 questions.
Hi, Kathy, I can help you with the PayPal input if you want. Do you guys have PayPal?
I'm not the treasurer. I'm the membership, but it's Steven, so I'll talk to him about it. He probably knows all about it anyway.
Hi, Barb.
Hi, Steve. Hi, everybody.
Hi, Barb.
Hello, everyone. I have 2 questions. I'm the treasurer from We Take Talkers, and my name is Sophie. I have 2 questions here. The first one is I called in late, and I heard someone was talking about transferring the treasurer role, and I have a question related to that. So, is there a virtual way to do it? Especially in my case, we have the account with Wells Fargo. And normally we would go to both the old and the new treasurers will go to the office and visit their banker, and then we will do the switch. But right now, since we are trying to avoiding going to the office in person, is there a virtual way to do that?
Let me answer that. I think probably that'll be a question that you need to bring up with the bank itself.
The good news is that we don't have to transfer you're an officer until June 30th. So hopefully by that time when we do the transfer, things will be back open.
Right. But
Okay.
to your point, I think the bank has to sort of, most banking institutions are going to have to try to figure out the workarounds considering the world we're in right now. And I think they probably are hopefully working on some type of virtual option that will meet the needs should we need to. But to Roxanne's point, hopefully it doesn't matter June 30th.
Okay, thank you. And my second question is related to the PayPal account. I heard that people mention it a lot, and I just have a simple question. When you guys use PayPal, is that account personal or is it under the name of the club?
Name of the club, never
Yes.
ever personal. Should never ever
Always
be
name of the
personal.
club.
Right. For your own protection as well as the club itself. It's just much
Yep.
cleaner.
Okay, so then when you use the PayPal and it's under the name of the club, when you do the transfer between the old and new treasurer, do you both have to upload your personal information to the PayPal?
Yeah, so for instance, when I took over from the previous treasurer, he had, for us for PayPal, I give them my email address, which is tm.mattberenson@gmail.com. The previous, and that goes straight to the PayPal account that's connected with our club's bank. The previous person, it was his email address, the previous treasurer, it was his email address was doing it. So yes, you do have to switch over the, basically set up a new PayPal account, which is not that difficult to do. But to answer your question, you do have to set up a new PayPal account for when a new treasurer comes in. And if there's any other treasurers that want to add to that, an easier way, please do chime in.
I think I
Okay.
mentioned this earlier. The one thing that our club does, we have a Gmail associated with the club, and just with the changing of each treasurer, we just change the password. So like I have my own password for the PayPal account now. I'll give that password to the next treasurer, and then they'll change it. That way I won't have access to it anymore.
Oh, that's a good idea. like set up like, yeah, that's a very good idea. Like it'd be like Treasurer Club 7804, which is my club, at gmail.com or something like that. That's a great idea, something like that. So it's always consistent email address regardless.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, consistent email address, and also I like the idea of password change. Again, from an IT security point of view, I think it definitely would behoove you to have the individual change the password, so that again, it's all about IT security.
Mm-hmm.
Good point.
I understand that you said that you provide an email address. Do you need to, because I know that even though the account is associated with the club, it has to be linked to a person. So in my experience, PayPal also asks for some personal information rather than club information. So I'm talking about like social security number. And when we do the switch, it's asking for both people's social security. So have you experienced that?
Not
Can't say that I have.
No, I haven't either.
I don't recall that myself.
That sounds like something that's maybe not quite kosher. They should not, PayPal should not be asking you for a social security number or any real personal information. The way that we did it is to create an account, a Gmail account for our club, and then associate the Gmail account with the bank that we deal with. And then we went to PayPal and set up PayPal. I can't recall how we set up PayPal, but there was no social security number requested that I can recall.
And in any event, as far as a tax ID number is concerned, every club should have a federal tax ID number, which would in many cases start with like 2 digits / whatever. So you should know your club's taxpayer identification number, and it should be on file with Toastmasters International.
It's also available from Club Central, Leadership Central, Club Demographics.
You are correct.
The club EIN number is, you go to Leadership Central, Club Demographics, and it's a big, you can click on it, it's a big button. And you'll find.
Okay, good to know. All right, thank you, everyone.
All right, Roxanne, shall we keep it going?
Absolutely. Anybody else have any questions?
Great input, everybody.
It's great information.
Well, let me go one step further. If you want to set up a bank account, you will need to know what your club's EIN number is. And I recommend using a bank that doesn't charge service fees. United Community Bank does not charge service fees. Now tell me if you guys have already covered this. Have you? But anyway, when you open a bank account at a local bank, like United Community Bank, you will need meeting minutes from your officer meeting. You will need the president and the secretary and VPE to go into the bank in person in order to set up the bank account. If you want to collect club dues, in the case of maybe a corporate account where you don't have, corporation's paying your dues, but you need to have something for supplies where you collect it from your members. So you take that money and you open the bank account in that way. And then you have an opportunity to pay for your supplies like ribbons and pins and things like that, that may be difficult to get from your corporation. I'm just throwing that out there.
Thanks, Barb.
All right.
Is our district director Phyllis Breach out there?
She might have stepped away. Kari, we do have Kari Evans on. Does anybody have any questions about possibly how to reach out to find new members and encourage our current members to join your virtual meetings?
I do. This is Kathy again. I know that one of our clubs, and I don't know where they're putting out the information, but like I said, we had 3 guests this week and they all want to join, but I don't think that my other clubs know how to put it out there where it's not being seen by just our club. So what can I tell them to do to make that go out a little bit further?
Do your clubs have a Facebook page and a club website?
I think so.
Okay, and I think that's where a lot of clubs are posting either their Zoom link or information about how to contact someone to access that Zoom link.
Okay, and is the WebEx the same then? One of them uses WebEx and one uses Zoom.
Yes, yeah,
Okay.
the same. And just making sure to post that on a regular basis on their Facebook page, and then I'll also have it at the top of the club website.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I have a question about that too. Can you go up to Toastmasters International and put in a Zoom link?
You can do that as well. And I think that Roxanne, there was a conversation on the district Facebook page that people are Zoom bombing. Is that the right term?
Yes. Yeah.
So you may want to think about that. And I think Steve has had this experience or knows something about it.
No, Kari, I'm afraid I don't have experience. I'm sorry, I was just making a smart aleck remark like a bomb special effect. Boom bomb. Sorry, folks.
Yeah, so we, Polk Street did put their link for the Zoom call, but what they realized tonight is that that number doesn't stay the same every week. So because we don't own that Zoom account, and so you would have to be updating it a lot if you put it on the Toastmasters International website. Now, if you are paying the monthly fee for Zoom, then it's possible you could add it as part of the address. But again, you have to be aware that there are people out there for some reason that, want to mess things up. So they have what's called Zoom bombing, and they'll just join your meeting and then, I guess, wreak havoc. I don't know what they do.
Well, actually, if I can, with Zoom, again, I think the best thing that I know, and I'm a newbie as far as this Zoom business is concerned. Mary and I just set up our Zoom account just the other day. But one thing I have learned with Zoom is you can password protect, where you send by email your club members or your guests. It's like, okay, here's the Zoom link, and also here's the password, which it could be like a 6-digit number, or it could be like the password that's been given for the area council meeting that's going to be held for my area next Thursday. So as far as a layman with this Zoom business is concerned, that's the best thing I can think of to prevent so-called Zoom bombing. So that way people aren't
But
trolling.
doesn't that kind of defeat the purpose in the fact that you're trying to reach out to people outside your club?
Yeah, I mean, it's again, it's one of those things that I'm still learning, but the only thing I can think of, and I'm assuming that, again, I'm an old guy, so I'm assuming that Zoom bombing means people who are just going in and just trolling Zoom meetings. Am I correct?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, well, the best thing that you could do is to set up a password, but you could always put in a link there if you're interested in joining. Send us an email and we'll send you the Zoom link, and the password is the best thing I can think of. Again, I'm learning this like a whole lot of people, but I think Zoom is a great thing. Clear as mud.
If you have a paid Zoom account, you can set up a reoccurring meeting with the same Zoom number.
Yeah.
And the password is generated by Zoom. You don't generate it yourself. You just have to give them the password. But you can set it up for password protected if you want to.
And, you know, I guess you could also make people register in order to attend the meeting. And so they'd have to put in, I mean, I guess they could put in a fake email address, but, you know, they'd have to put in their name and email. You can enable the waiting room, and I don't know if that's just with Zoom Pro or, but you can enable the waiting room so people have to be let into the meeting by the host. So those are some options as well.
The waiting room is available in the free version too.
Oh, okay.
You can also have it set up where they can't, if you have the waiting room, they can't go in until the host is signed in. But with the free account, it will cut you off after 40 minutes.
Right.
And by the way, the best deal is you can do a yearly subscription that's a couple of dollars cheaper per month if you wanted to go that route, and that's what Mary and I decided to do. And after a year, if we don't like it, we just won't renew.
Right. Right.
So I think we have time for maybe one more question, if anybody has one more thing to add. Kari, anything you'd like to add from a PR perspective?
Sure. Yeah. Just make sure that your club website is up to date with the most current information, because people, when they're looking for Toastmasters clubs in their area, your website, either the Toastmasters Find a Club information will pop up, and your website may pop up right underneath it. So it's important to keep that information up to date, because people will be looking to see, is this a club or a meeting that I want to participate in? And if they see, you know, pictures and maybe videos and some kind of interaction with the club members, they may be more likely to want to join, or at least join that virtual meeting. So I encourage you to make sure that the website is kept up to date. Make sure that you're posting on a regular basis if you have a Facebook page, because that will also come up in the search. And if people see that your club is active and, you know, sharing some of those Zoom pictures and conversation and content, they may again be more likely to want to join your virtual meeting.
Yeah, and I was going to say, you know, this is a great time to reach out to those members that haven't been able to attend your meetings. We've had quite a few members who have joined us now because they can do it from their home. You know, maybe they're taking care of a loved one, or they've got kids at home. And so this gives them great opportunity to still participate and maybe rejoin your group.
And this is Steve. All organizations, not just Toastmasters, are facing the same challenge. So I just want to say, Carrie, as our, and I know all these titles have changed. I'm what they now used to call, you know, I'm now what, I was what y'all call a district director now. But
Right.
Carrie, I just want to say thank you very much to you and the district team for all your PR efforts to keep us in the loop about things, especially us old has-beens like yours truly. And I just want to say that I hope that y'all are happy, healthy, safe, secure, and remember, we're a whole heck of a lot stronger than any virus that could be thrown at us as
Absolutely.
human beings.
Yes, thank
And
you.
my theme as a district governor was learn, grow, achieve. So don't let COVID-19 keep you from learning, growing, and especially achieving. Thank you.
Thank you,
Thanks, Steve. I just want two more things before we go. We do have Talk Up Toastmasters that is continuing through March. So I just want to remind everybody that if you get 5 to 7 new dual or reinstated members, I know it seems like it might be a hard process, but if you're able to get new members to join, there are incentive bucks available. We would love to give you some money for your clubs. So 5 to 7 gets $25, 8 to 9 gets $35, 10 or more, you get $50 investment bucks. And if you submit an open house flyer, and yes, you can do an open house virtually, Kari has $25 investment bucks for first place and $15 for second place. And
Do you
then,
have any
Are these
recommendations?
what we used to call bookstore bucks?
yes.
Yes.
Thanks.
I had a club reach out to me about doing a virtual open house. Do you have any recommendations on what to tell them?
I think that's going to be fun. I've not experienced a virtual open house before, but I'd like to be happy to talk with them and explore some options and brainstorm and see what you could come up with.
It might be fun to do some kind of themed meeting where they could dress up, maybe.
Yeah.
Wear your best pajamas.
There you go.
You could have like a hat of, a funny hat
Yeah.
theme. Yeah.
As
That'd be
long
pretty
as you're
cool.
dressed.
Steve, you take all the fun out of it.
Yeah, I know.
And then one last thing, we still have Membership Madness going on. Even though March Madness was canceled, we still got Membership Madness in District 44. So we did extend the date to March 27th. So if your club is able to get 8 or more renewals, you will get $15 investment bucks. And any clubs that have 100% renewals will get $50 investment bucks. So we encourage you to continue to reach out to your members. I know that renewals has been extended to April 30th. But we would love to see our members join and continue in their journey, especially during these difficult times. It's so great to see people's faces and be able to still connect and still continue our journey in Toastmasters. So encourage them to renew before March 27th so you can get some free money.
Another question for you.
Yep.
How are you determining the 100% renewal?
Yeah.
So that will be if they were a member as of the March, let's see, if they were a member up through March and then they renew. So I'm doing a download to determine that. So whatever your membership was for October through March, then if those 100% of that renews, then you'll get the $50. Does that make sense?
No.
And now you're talking when you're talking a data download, are you talking about downloading all the members of District 44 into a database?
Yes.
That's what I similarly do for Lions. I'm a district governor in Lions for Northeast Georgia. Yes, I'm a glutton for punishment. So that's what I do. Kudos.
So I think what it means, Roxanne, correct me if I'm mistaken, what you're saying is that anyone that is a member of your club as of the end of March, if by the end of March they have already paid, if everyone has already paid through September, then you're 100% renewal for all
Correct.
of those current members.
Yes.
So it's not based off of the numbers, it's based off the who is renewing?
Correct.
Is it a yearly renewal, Roxanne? It doesn't go from like October 1st to March 31st and then they renew? So it goes all the way back to March?
It would just be from April 1st through, it's the 6 months of April 1st through September 30th.
Right, that's what, okay, wait a minute. Okay, we have a renewal period starting October 1st and it goes through March 31st.
Right.
And if you're a member during that time and then you renew, wouldn't you qualify? Because what I think Roxanne is saying is, no, you wouldn't qualify because you have to have renewed in March of 2019. Am I wrong?
Yeah,
Yeah,
if you
you're
remember, October through March,
Right.
and then you renew for April through September.
Okay, that's the way I would think it would go.
So so Roxanne, if your club had 10 members that were members of October 1st, and then all 10 renewed on April 1st, then the club is 100% renewed.
Correct.
Okay.
So just to clarify, if someone joined last month, they would not be included in that mix?
Correct. They would not be considered part of it. But we would like for them to renew.
Of course. Okay. All right. Yeah, that's good clarity. Thank you.
Yes.
And
Yeah,
who's
it's a little
responsible for
complicated,
tracking? Who's responsible for tracking that particular metric?
That'd be me. I love numbers.
Hey, numbers person, all right.
There's a method to my madness.
There's a madness to your
Correct.
method.
I understand. Believe me, been there, done that, got the gold badge and the scars to prove it.
All
Well,
right,
I'd like to
thank
thank
you, everyone.
everybody, that participated tonight. We really appreciate it. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to Matt or myself or Kari. And if we don't know the answer, we'll reach out to all these people that have the knowledge.
Thank you for your input, everybody. Keep it up and stay safe. I forgot who it was that said it, but I heard something about they refuse to socially distance. It's all about making sure that we are more effectively physically distancing, but we should still be socially connected.
Absolutely.
Well,
Thanks
thank
for
you.
doing
Have a
this, you
good night.
guys. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, Matt. Thank you, everyone, for organizing this thing.
Yeah.
Enjoyed it.
Yeah,
Okay,
thanks so
bye-bye.
much. Have a good
Great
night.
job, Roxanne. Thanks everyone else for participating. Bye-bye.
Yep. Thanks. Good night.
Bye.